This segment of JTV News is brought to you by Clarence Thomas Limited, Infinite Solutions, and Caribbean Sellers.
The Grenadian Prime Minister, who inspired Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony to legislate the good behavior of his cabinet and parliament, is making the case for the move. It comes days after a fourth minister was dismissed from his government. Prime Minister Tillman Thomas, who campaigned on good governance, integrity and accountability, says he will do what he must to ensure he delivers on the promises. The ruling SLP called for much of the same during its time in opposition to the former Stephenson King administration.
Since the NDC came to power in 2008, Grenadian Prime Minister Tillman Thomas has taken disciplinary action against 4 ministers. 2 of them, former Attorney General Jimmy Bristol and Environment Minister Joseph Gilbert, were fired. Junior Culture Minister Arlie Gill was banned from a number of cabinet meetings, and former Environment Minister Michael Church was demoted, after which he resigned. Thomas makes no apology for his decisions, arguing good governance demands accountability from those who seek to lead.
I expect them to do that. I expect them to make sure that we all comply with procedures, that we put ourselves under scrutiny, and we operate as trustees of the people, and that we do not use our ministries for as we see fit. We have to do it in accordance with the will of the people.
So committed is Prime Minister Thomas to this philosophy, he has presented the Integrity in Public Life legislation to the Grenadian House of Representatives. Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony admitted he drew inspiration from that bill and Thomas in his decision to introduce new laws that would govern the behavior of his cabinet and parliamentarians.
We will also introduce a manual of procedures to guide the business of cabinet. I intend to hold my cabinet to very high standards and to insist on the highest levels of efficiency, accountability and service from every single one of my ministers. Our goal is to restore good governance to our country, and I will accept nothing less.
Prime Minister Thomas is currently in St. Lucia attending the 54th annual meeting of the OECS Authority. The U.S. State Department's Grenada country page describes Thomas's National Democratic Congress as a left-of-center party. He says his moves are designed to end corruption in government.
It is important that investigation be made to ascertain whether it is true or not, because, as I say, as trustees we have to account to the people, and we must operate transparently, because we have to lead by example, and we have to change that image that politics is a way people going and get involved in wrongdoing for their personal gains. We have to bring some integrity, some dignity and some respect to the political arena, that each state has to be governed, and we need the best people to govern our country in the region. Therefore, morality has to be a basis for leadership.
Former Grenadian Environment Minister Joseph Gilbert was fired last week because of a letter he wrote to a company interested in establishing a casino in the Spice Isle. Prime Minister Thomas, who is on the record over his opposition of gaming, says Gilbert was dismissed to save the country's integrity. Carmi Joseph, HTS News, Channel 4.
Economic crime has hit over 60 Caymanian companies last year. This information comes from the latest survey report. 179 companies weighed in for the 2011 Economic Crime Survey report, and the results are mixed.
Over a third of businesses reported involvement in at least one instance of economic crime in 2011. The main threats: embezzlement, money laundering, and insurance fraud. It's cause for concern. Almost half of businesses polled expect the risk of economic crime to increase over the next 3 years. The solution, they say, lies with government, law enforcement, and industry associations. But what are businesses doing to protect themselves? Only 70.6% of those surveyed feel confident in their current crime prevention systems. And according to the Chamber report, many businesses are still unaware of the extent of economic crime. Less than half of the company's boards had formal risk management training last year. If companies can keep economic crime to a minimum, business may not suffer. Only 27.1% of the 179 surveyed say they're concerned about potential damage to their reputation. For Cayman 27, Janelle Mutu.
A fast ferry service for the Eastern Caribbean is to be established. Trinidad government is in negotiations with Fast Caribbean Limited to set up the ferry service. Phase 1 of the service will offer trips to the islands of Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Barbados. The average price for citizens of Trinidad and Tobago would be between $25 and $35 a person.
Before the end of 2012, nationals of Trinidad and Tobago could pay roughly 160 TT dollars to get to 4 Caribbean islands. Cabinet on Thursday approved a recommendation from an evaluation committee for Fast Caribbean Limited, based out of Barbados, to be the provider of a regional ferry service sailing to Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Barbados from this country. Transport Minister Devant Mirage assured that the private consortium would foot the cost of the operation, which would be based in this country.
It still remains a private sector driven project based on the proposal from Fast Caribbean Limited, and they have indicated in their proposal to us the minimum capital requirement to start the service range is approximately $12 million US. They propose, however, to raise approximately $20 million US.
The Caribbean Fast Ferry, which has been on CARICOM's table since 2005, will not only offer passenger service, but will allow CARICOM nationals to carry their vehicles and also freight and goods between countries. Government hopes the service, which will leave Port of Spain at 6 a.m. and arrive at its final destination in Barbados at 6 p.m., will assist in opening up travel and trade within the region.
Not every shipping line goes to the other islands, Grenada or St. Vincent, because of the volume of trade. So it means then that these islands, in getting their goods out, can in fact ship to Trinidad and then do a transshipment from Trinidad onto the larger lines, which will then relate to cheaper freight for the islands.
Minister Mirage says there is also a proposal on the table to offer 100,000 seats each year at a reduced rate of $10 US, but those details will have to be finalized at a later date. For CNC3, I am Kamal Georges.
Brazil remains open to offering assistance to ailing economies through the International Monetary Fund, IMF, though it is seeking a political commitment to reforming the institution as part of the discussions. According to Dow Jones Newswires, the statement comes after the IMF said it was seeking an additional $500 to $600 billion in resources to help fight the effects of the European debt crisis. Brazil and other large emerging market governments, such as China, have been called upon to kick in resources for the effort. In November, Brazil agreed to study offering aid through IMF, though it rejected direct aid to European governments or stabilization funds. The IMF's biggest contributor, the US, has said it has no intention of giving more aid to the IMF to help resolve Europe's current difficulties. G20 member nation finance ministry officials are meeting in Mexico this week to discuss the fallout from the Eurozone crisis and possible solutions. This is Walter Barrett for JTV News.